Hello, it's Vanessa. Hey,
And Daniel, hello, it's me, Danny.
I missed you last week.
Uh, I know we
Um,
weren't here last week.
where were you? Went to Los Angeles. You went to go hang
I
out with
was
the cool
working.
kids in LA.
I was working. Oh, hey, Alex. Alex is here up in the chat.
Yay!
I was just telling Danny that I came in hot because I was listening to Aaron's last video that he's probably still doing, and it was like, "It's all over" in all caps, and it ends today, and it was like really intense. So I haven't watched all of it, but he did say some interesting things that that's what he said that I didn't tell you before.
You always come in hot. That's great.
Thanks, Alex. Apparently
Hey,
Sterling
Renee.
resigned from the SPTV Foundation board yesterday.
Wait, say what?
Sterling?
Who? Sterling.
Yeah, he resigned from the foundation board because he made it a point that he was very uncomfortable with all the creator on creator former Scientologist drama that's going on, which I totally fucking understand and has kind of really turned me off from YouTube as well and done a lot less. And it's not so much of a fun space anymore.
I hate to quote the cretin, but like maybe these people need to talk. Paraphrase, as it were, universal solvents. I don't know, man. It just sounds like ex-Scientologists being Scientologists still, to me.
Yeah,
and it's hard to reconcile. I don't know how much we're supposed to talk about it, or allowed to talk about it. Also, I don't think people want to hear about it anymore, right? Isn't that what Aaron's kind of trying to say? Is like we got to stop bitching at each other about it.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. The unfortunate part is that that's what people click on to watch is like the drums,
That's funny. And I feel like there is always going to be
a bunch of broken people trying to.
Yeah. That was what we were talking about, was how, whenever I talk about this stuff to my therapist or my social worker, I always start by prefacing by these are broken people and none of them are reliable narrators. None of these people are reliable narrators. And we never really know what's really going on because everything is so compartmentalized. So people know this part of the story and some people know this part of the story, and nobody very rarely gets together and tries to hash it out in this way that some people in the world do. And we wonder sometimes how. Say what?
There's a lot of divides just among.
There's a lot of divides, but I'm just saying in the Scientology headspace, we compulsively divide. We compulsively keep our cards really close to our chest, and we don't really want to open up and share. And God forbid the idea of, I don't know, telling the truth in some whatever sticky situation that I'm spinning all these plates. Like, well, stop spinning the plates. That's the problem. Everybody's spinning plates.
It's true. There's no need to spin plates, and I think you just be on be honest. And it is.
But see, what it feels like is it feels like particular players are not being forthwith and not wanting to talk, and that's.
I agree. Alex says, I've been saying the same thing for over a year, but have been consistently attacked for doing so. Only a few months ago, certain creators accused me of controlling the narrative by asking to focus on Scientology rather than each other. Yeah.
Oh, boy. And we're all so paranoid of things being controlled. Don't you dare control my narrative, you motherfucker. What's real to... If I know my knowingness, don't you question my knowingness.
No, it's hard. Nobody wants to be told what to do, but at the same time, like, what are we doing here?
I guess that's it. That's the question. What is that I think we should be, listening to each other and taking advice from each other and talking to each other about, I don't know, more than just our subjects. You talk about trauma, that's a subject. We can talk about that at a distance, as it were.
Yeah.
And I'm noticing that more, that not as many of these people have had therapy as I initially thought, and I was really surprised to discover that of a couple of people, and I think that we all need it.
It really pisses me off because I put in so much effort and work to show up for myself and do it, and they don't do it. And so at that point, I'm like, how? Like, you're just changed after you let it out a little bit. you know, and it was just,
Absolutely. There's a huge power in confession, and
yeah,
particularly in, whatever, certain spaces, and that's just not something Scientologists do. It's such a weird thing.
yeah.
But they need that, and I wonder if Mike Rinder has had that. I wonder if certain people have had that, if he's even, I don't need to know all he's done, but I would love to know if he knows all he's done, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what it's caused.
Well,
But
I think that's why it got confusing, and that's why you're upset, because he was coming across for a long time as though he was atoning for everything, right? And then when it comes out that about just the Miriam stuff, like, you're like, wait, are you atoning or are you covering up? And then it
yeah,
becomes weird and confusing.
and it feels, and that's the point of it. Like that's the oh, it's just this, the weird and confusing. It's just too familiar, and it's triggering as fuck,
Yeah.
because I recognize all of this and the way it's all going down, the way these people are talking behind each other's backs and not talking to each other's faces, and writing reports and submitting things and sharing things with certain people but not other people, and being selective about who knows what and when and why and how, and random people just coming in out of left field and making demands of people. It's just, I don't know. It just feels like
to be unwelcoming for people who want to leave Scientology. That's like my main thing, is like, I just don't want the drama to turn anybody off, because it's confusing enough leaving a cult. It's really confusing when you're like, is this my thought? Is this L. Ron Hubbard's thought? And then like to try to figure out who's real on YouTube is like a whole other, puzzle.
Don't trust any of us. Don't trust any of us. We're all
Scientologists.
We've all been systematically trained to resist our impulses and ignore our feelings. It's gross. It's just gross.
Yeah.
We're weird people at best. And the weird little things that I just don't even know what to say.
And it's, you know, what else is interesting is there's a lot of different venues where these things happen. So like people post on Discord, they post on blogs, they post on Reddit. Like I'm more of a Reddit person. I've always relied on Reddit to just find out information about life. And everybody says different things on different venues.
Well, no, that's the joy and the misery of the internet, is no matter what you want to believe, you can find confirmation or denial of it on the internet. If you want to believe that the moon is made out of cheese, there's a video somewhere that proves it's Gouda. You know what I mean? Like that's what the Gouda specifically. That's what the internet's good for, confirmation bias galore. I love the joke of the deep dive was you did a search and clicked the first thing that confirmed your bias. That's the deep dive. That's the deep dive.
Exactly. I did a really big deep dive. Everyone says it's really something.
I asked Jeeves back in 1992.
And meanwhile, I'm over here like working my ass off to pass a research methods class where you actually have to pull up peer-reviewed research and like all the shit that I was never taught in Scientology, right? But that in a program at my school, we have to know how to do these things, because you can't just pull up anything from the internet. That's not a source. Wikipedia is not a source. Like you actually have to go to the actual documents, and like it's a whole thing. So when people just don't care at all, it's frustrating.
I don't know. For me, I mean, I had to hit a pretty abysmal bottom to like try to even turn around. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's doing all right, faking it or white knuckling it or whatever they're doing. So, or not. That's what I worry about with what's happening with the foundation and the rift and all that. Is like it's not healthy for any of us. It's not good for any of us to not be on each other's sides. We should all be on each other's sides.
And Renee brings up a good point. It's also OSA posting to mix things up.
And who are and we all have to presume everybody could be an OSA plant. Renee, you could be an OSA plant.
Well, not over assuming, because it's like an easy out to just say something's
no, OSA, that's one of the worst things, and that's one of the worst things that I also hear in Mike Rinder's statement is that it is the easy out for him. He doesn't have to really look at any critique, because anything that comes negative to him, and this isn't even like I think he's doing it on purpose. This is just what he's been automatically trained to do. You know, this is what he did compulsively for 30 years. Of course, he's going to keep doing it to some extent. So anytime anyone says anything negative, he goes, oh, disregard OSA.
Yeah.
The same way Trump disregards fake news. Everything he doesn't like is just fake news. And he doesn't have to believe it for a second, doesn't have to think about it, ponder it, or wonder if he should do anything about it. And that's, you know, it's an escape. It seems. I don't know. He won't talk to me. So could you imagine?
Did you try?
No. No, I don't even like. I don't feel like I'm allowed to be so bold. Which is probably silly.
Permission right now.
I know, right? Be so bold. Yo, Mikey, talk to me. I'd love to talk to you.
The first time I talked to him, I got terrified. I was over the phone, and it was like a visceral reaction because
I know that's hard too.
Him for so long as the guy, you know.
And I've also said this. I've also said this, that we all have to be careful because it's impossible for us not to be biased, because that man was the boogeyman. He was the boogeyman. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I do remember him, and we all do. And the voice, I don't want to hear his voice either. You know what I mean? The voice is even more like the fucking.
Well, you were just showing me your toy car.
Oh, do you want to hear this now?
Yeah.
So, well, goes back to talking about the board we're not supposed to be talking about, but it also bothers me.
We can talk about whatever we want. It
also bothers me that that Mark Headley is on that board, because Mark Headley was my bully when I was a kid, and he was not. And it turns out he was a lot of people's bully. That actually, when I said that to Claire, he joked. Oh yeah, your husband was, and she's like, yeah, I get that a lot. Like she's heard that before, or something like that. I was like, oh, she's heard that before. I see. And she's not amused. She's not amused. Anyway, so I told this story about Christmas, and I got a little red Corvette toy car that was probably some cheap piece of shit from Pick and Save. Who knows? But I was very excited about it. And I took it out into the lobby of the Shangri-La Lodge to play with it, because the carpeting is thinner and it rolls better. And Mark came along and he stomped on it with his foot. And I don't think he intended to break it, but he did. He smashed it pretty good. So he went and sent me this. Because
when
I told
he found out he was your personal bully.
Right. When he found out that he was the guy.
And it's still in the box. You haven't played with it.
For the record, I had a lot of bullies. You know, he was not alone. I was very pick-onable. Pick on me.
At the Pick and Save.
At the Pick and Save. I still haven't opened it. I can't confront the mess. I haven't opened it because I'm not sure. I mean, at first I thought, I should open it like online and like do it like they do. We open things like open the box, unboxing. That's it, right? And now, but it just sat there, and I just didn't want to. I didn't want to do it. I didn't even want to look at it, and I did not want to talk to Mark. Like, I don't really want to talk to Mark. Do you? I mean, I'm like, I'm not. You know, I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm just. I don't know. You know, it's not trigger.
I mean,
trigger.
You don't have to, right?
Well, I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe that's the point of what I'm trying to say, is that all of us should be talking to each other more, for real. You know, we all need group therapy.
It would be nice.
Couples counseling. Mike Rinder and Aaron Smith Levin.
Of Tony Ortega's blog. He actually has, his podcast. He has a bunch of ex-members on, and it's called Group Therapy.
Oh. Yeah. And how is it? Wow, is it good?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Is he? I don't know. I don't know Tony Ortega. I don't really know Tony Ortega. He's the bunker guy.
Yeah, Tony Ortega's been the journalist that I've read for the last 10 years, every single day. So
yeah, no, I realize I've probably read him too, because he writes a lot about Scientology, but I don't know. Yeah. I don't know him the way y'all know him.
People either like him, hate him. It's like a thing. That specific podcast is behind a paywall, so I don't listen to it, or I would. Oh. But
who's on it?
Brought up a good point. Jerry Armstrong has been calling out Rinder for at least 8 years, and he made videos on it. Have you seen any of that?
I don't know Jerry Armstrong.
I've heard his name so many times. I don't know much about him, but
Can we all just
apparently
hug?
he's an ex.
That's, Denver, that's like, you're funny, but like at the same time, I think we really need it. We really need a big old group hug. I made a post the other day on my Facebook about somebody giving me a hug one day in Philadelphia when I was a bum, and how much that meant to me and how I still think about it. And
Really?
that's something, and that's something we all need more of, I think. Oh, you know what I mean? Like,
a little bit more compassion for each other. Steve-O's been here since the day I got on YouTube, and he's a great ally and somebody who has been pretty even keeled through this whole thing, because it seems like everybody's just picked sides of who we watch, who we don't watch. They're calling it the cult of Aaron. Like, there's a whole, thing going on. She says,
and that's tricky too, because
fair game ex. Go ahead.
Oh, he's the most fair game ex in history, huh?
I don't know if I would.
I'll look him up. But it's also a difficult thing, because what Aaron certainly is doing in terms of like building an audience and all of that is kind of a cult of personality kind of thing you have to do. That's how the internet works. That's how YouTubing works. That's how that's how it all works. This is all about these individuals that we look at online and go, "Oh, that's cool." And so it's I don't know how to walk that line. You know what I mean? Like, how does he not become kind of culty? He's an ex-Scientologist and he's a YouTuber. These things kind of, the Venn diagram really has a lot of overlap there.
It's big circles. But honestly, even just to like believe that you have enough to say, which I struggle with sometimes, like, who would want to listen to what I have to say? Like, you really have to have a lot of self-esteem to be on all day long to the point where you're making that much money too.
Yeah, and he really is on a lot, and he's on. Yeah. And he always seems to have real certainty with his point and his message, and he has no doubt, I think, is also he just goes, "Yep, I'm gonna say what I'm saying," and it's working. It's a working installation. What do you do?
Yeah, for sure. And it's become a whole, I mean, literally SPTV, it used to be like Monday nights, Mark, Claire, Mike, and Aaron. They called it SPTV. And then the whole falling out thing happened. And now it's like this whole
that's what's so sad to think about, how Aaron used to, and they all used to be so tight. And not anymore. But again, that's Scientology relationships. That's one of the things about the family disconnections and stuff. Like, every time you think you know somebody, they go, "I can't talk to you anymore," or some shit.
Everything is conditional.
Everything is conditional, literally. They had us doing conditions. But it's unfortunate. Oh, it's unfortunate. And I'm still no good at it, I'm still no good at being, I'm a lousy friend. I don't return phone calls. I don't go out to visit. This is the best I got now.
Maybe you're just recovering,
30 years of recovery. No, I mean, whatever. No, but like, I went from that to alcoholism, to an abusive relationship, to the streets, and more alcoholism, and then another abusive relationship in the streets. Wow. Wow. Oh, that was fun.
Totally.
And then it's a compound fracture. It never stopped. Yeah, it never stopped. It started right.
So I think that you might be like literally physically catching up with all the craziness that went on, And sometimes I don't feel like calling anyone either. Fuck them. Like, I just need to be alone.
Yeah. And I do. And sometimes people don't understand that. Sometimes some people do, but sometimes some people don't. And at the same time, I could reach out more. There's certainly people that are good for me that I could be talking to more often.
Yeah.
I just want to stay home and play with the dog. God bless her.
I struggle with that too, though. I mean, a big time, like not having motivation to do social things, which when I do actually call a friend, at the end of the day, I do feel a little bit better after chatting, or like,
No,
or
that's
going to see people.
right. That's the proof in the pudding is that when you do call these people or you do talk to you, it's always better. You always feel better. So it's like,
But it's hard to
why
get
not?
started. It really is. And sometimes I don't do it either. I'll just isolate. But that's a PTSD thing too.
Yeah, and sometimes actually I will convince myself that that I said some horrible thing in the conversation. There's always those sort of
Really?
over things. Not always, but yeah, sometimes. I'm really good at that too. Like after the fact, like replaying these conversations and trying to figure out what I said that was off. I said something bad. I know I said something wrong. Just I don't know. It's an irrational, conundrum that doesn't really exist. But I gotta figure it out.
Yeah. That's shitty that's even like been programmed into you as the first thing to do is like look for your responsibility.
What did you do?
Create this
What did you
bad
do?
effect?
How did you exactly?
Yeah.
And
today my therapist asked me
and
about
as you
disassociation. Go ahead.
Oh. No, I was just still as you said it, I just went oh in my belly. Shit.
Yeah. No, we were talking
Obsidian
about
Kitten. Yes. Okay. Hey, baby. That's an old friend.
Fat Grammy says, as a never and I imagine what I would want as a Sino child. I would want someone to realize I needed rescue and come help me. Big hugs to both of you. Yep, that was the dream.
Rescue me. Take me in your arms. Rescue me.
But then I always knew that, like, even if we were rescued, it would be really challenging to fit in with the rest of the world.
It is, yeah. It's a funny thing because that's a hard part of a lot of recovery and therapy too, is this sort of like nudging you towards this sort of idea of normal.
Yeah.
That I don't know that I care for sometimes, a lot of times, or I don't really understand. I get very confused by some concepts of normal, and that's again all these different kind of ideas of what I think normal is. Normal is just a relative term. Normal is just ordinary. It doesn't necessarily mean better or worse.
But it is good to know what baseline
but
is.
It's good to know it's good to know what the regular is. It's certainly good to know, have a basis of comparison, which of course we lacked a lot of. But I still have a hard time with it because I don't know. I just don't think. I think a lot of what is presented as normal isn't really. It's kind of faked or fudged or pretended a little too much, and that I have a hard time with. Like, you want me to pretend to be what? Like, I don't know how to do that. So, but the person telling you to do this isn't like thinking of it that way. But I see.
No, I think that's a common theme among cult survivors is that we've just put up with so much bullshit before that we're almost allergic to it. It's just
definitely the allergic to bullshit, the allergic to lies, or whatever. Just that sort of like, or the way that people like when they zone out or when they're not listening or they're not talking to you or whatever. Yeah, there's a lot of allergic. Yeah, the allergic. That's a good way to put it because it's this immediate sort of something. Something in my detergent.
Just like uncomfortable. I can't take it very much. It's true though. When somebody starts talking bullshit, I just can't handle it. It's like I've had too much of it.
So what do we do?
I don't know.
Because I get told I'm crazy. I get told when I go, oh yeah, you're talking shit. Like I get in fights with shrinks all the time because every shrink.
Really?
That's a thing. What do you think of that? Because every shrink, and like therapists are great. Every therapist I've ever had is, well, except for one, but every therapist pretty much I've ever had has been pretty great. But every once in a while you have to sit down with an actual like psychiatrist, an actual doctor.
Yeah.
And almost every one of them I've gotten a fight with.
Really? Yes. Wow.
And I'm not sure if that's because I'm predisposed to.
What is it that you're challenging?
Their bullshit. They're being insincere in some moment or some conversation or some way in which they're looking at something or not listening, being dismissive. The last guy, he was he was like pulling up some notes from something, I don't remember what. And he'd written some things down on a Post-it, and he kept tapping at the Post-it. And the first thing on there was like having, trouble sleeping. And I was trying to tell him that I was actually sleeping a lot better these days. And he didn't want to hear that. He just kept insisting that was my primary complaint, which it wasn't. But I was very weird. It was very weird. And I don't remember the rest of it, but it was, I don't know. It was just very weird. And at a certain point, he kind of laughed at me, like in a weird kind of like trying to laugh me off kind of way that just really upset me. But
that's
I don't know.
Fucked up.
I feel like people are sometimes very challenging with me in a way that's unnecessary, particularly men.
Well, you don't want that from your doctor, though.
And certainly not from certainly not from your psychiatrist. No, I got a different one. It's okay. I do better with women. I do much better with them. Hey, Kamala.
Yeah, yay, go Kamala.
I think we'll all do better with a woman.
I have a great psychiatrist, but I haven't always had good ones, and sometimes he actually knows about Scientology, which really helps. Like he's
that's a hurdle.
Bit informed, and that's really, really good because
I think also
they don't get that much time with you either.
Yeah, that's true. And I think also the difference I found is with a therapist, they're willing to engage in a doubt, like to say, oh, maybe I don't know what's going on. Why don't you tell me? Whereas when I feel like when I'm talking with a psychiatrist, they are certain, and anything you say that's contradictory to their idea is out. Yeah. And it just feels like basic ego bullshit, really. But I think I'm very triggering
for people in general.
People, dogs, babies, cockroaches, whatever.
You're just a walking bull bait. I won't say the FLUNK word, but it sends shivers down my spine.
Yeah, well, what are you gonna do?
We were talking about disassociation this morning, my therapist and I, and she was asking how that manifests. And I was explaining that since basically, 5 years old, from doing the TRs, you literally learn to stop paying attention to your body and stop paying attention to your feelings and emotions and just be stone cold and repeat the question. And that is
a
very, very young age to stop listening to your body and your emotions and stuff. It's not healthy at all.
Well, it's perfect. It makes for a very good mindless Sea Org member.
Exactly.
Slave labor force.
For sure. Were you crying last night watching the DNC?
Was I crying? I don't know if I was crying, but I was enjoying it.
In a good way?
Yeah. I was crying this morning, but about something else. I was thrilled. I watched not all of it, but I watched Michelle and Obama and some of the first gentleman.
Yeah.
I enjoyed even more Stephen Colbert's coverage of it.
I didn't see it. Is it funny?
Well, a lot of those shows are in Chicago, like the Daily Show's in Chicago for it, and Stephen Colbert's in Chicago for it. And there's an actress who plays Melania Trump for Stephen Colbert sometimes, and she's hilarious. It's just absolutely hilarious. And so the joke is that Melania is hiding out in Chicago because it's the only place she knows Donald Trump won't be. The only place she knows for certain he will not be.
You know what I was pissed off about?
But they bumped James Taylor. No, what?
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they did. That's okay.
There was this whole thing about LA mayors and Karen Bass and Rick Caruso. And Karen Bass, who's the mayor of Los Angeles, promised to do everything she could in her power to stop Scientology from abusing people in her district, which is Los Angeles.
So wait, at some point was she on their side? At some point,
yeah,
she was friendly with Tom.
She was like a paid shill to. She was one of the city people who got up there and said, "This new great Church of Scientology, blah blah blah," because they like kicked her some money or something like that. And so at one point, she was doing that. She was called out by it. There were commercials even that was like, "Karen Bass loves Scientology. Vote for Rick Caruso," like crazy shit. And so she ended up becoming mayor, but apparently she met with Mike and Leah, and she was educated on the topic.
I'm sorry. She met with. Hey, John.
She met with Leah and Mike, and she actually promised to like stop some of the abuses if she could. But then the freaking Olympic ceremony, she's right there shaking Tom Cruise's hand like a big fangirl, like all smiles. And it just really pisses me off that he gets this pass. Like nobody cares that he hasn't seen his daughter in 17 years. Like, no,
well, it's weird,
like
particularly
a good action movie.
I don't know. It has to do with his fan base, I guess. I don't know. He's so universally liked. He's liked all over the world for whatever reason. And I think it's hard for anyone. Like even if she wanted to give him some shit, I'm sure it's hard for anyone to look at Tom Cruise and not go, "Oh, Top Gun," or like Risky Business. You know what I mean? Like he's so iconic at this point.
There was somebody though who had left a comment, and they were like, "Well, I guess if I was an ex-Scientologist seeing this, I would just say fuck me." And I was like, "Yeah, pretty much." You're like,
well, like Leah. Like Leah had to go through a transformation of understanding what was really going on behind the scenes in a way that she didn't at first. So I don't know that does he. And I know that we assume that he understands certain aspects of it because he does get special privileges and he goes to those bases and the special hideaways or whatever it is with his boyfriend, David Miscavige. But, you know, I don't think that he can be like this sort of the star that he is if he knew, if he was holding this information in his head and felt any sort of guilt about it. I don't think that he could be Tom Cruise. So either he doesn't know or he really is in just a huge denial. And that's kind of a weird thing to think of. But at the same time, a lot of Hollywood people talk about how weird he is and how he does kind of feel like an NPC, like a non-player character. Like you ask him personal stuff and he never really has an answer. Or when asked what his favorite movie is, you know, he's a movie star. And he doesn't really have an answer for that. He segues into talking about how much he loves filmmaking. He doesn't, the art of filmmaking or whatever. He doesn't talk about acting as a craft. He doesn't seem to have any information about that. He doesn't seem to have any passion for what he does as a film actor, other than being super successful at it.
And you know, that's stunts.
His what?
His stunts.
Yeah. He loves that. He loves being the old man jumping out of a plane, but a lot of old men of his generation do. That's just, I think that's just normal old man stuff. A lot of guys get to a certain age and they get their pilot license. Like that's a thing now.
Yeah.
But
it is.
and him and Johnny, they started that shit. But
this is a good point. I'm sure he understands the free labor he got for remodeling his house. Yeah, so that's what it's hard to come to terms with, is that he has gotten so much from the Sea Org. So how does he wrap his brain around that that's okay? I think you're right. He doesn't think it's wrong.
Yes, Shanna, Leah Remini, from King of Queens. And no, he is, I think, of the mind space of anything to forward the cause. And he himself has been identified as one of the greatest tools in forwarding that cause. He's the king of dissemination. So anything done for him by any Sea Org member or any Scientologist is all done in the name of the cause of clearing the planet. So that's the sign away on that, sign off on that. Normal old man stuff. I got normal old man stuff. You wake up one day, all of a sudden you got acid reflux and Crohn's disease. Where'd that come from? I don't know.
Just a little Crohn's, NBD.
Yeah. Little,
could be the trauma.
What is that? Could be. you the horrible food we eat. You know, that's the joke, is we don't eat food anymore. We eat food like product. And then we're wondering why all of a sudden everybody's got acid reflux, Crohn's disease, and type 2 diabetes. Hello. And this is why we can never have universal health care, because we're so incredibly unhealthy. The people that forward and push the capitalistic ideology that says sell anything that sells, they sell us the worst shit. So they're not going to then, you know, help us be, you know, take, you know, whatever, be healthier about it.
Yeah. Tom Cruise is best friends with a literal comic book villain. He should not get a pass, and neither should Karen Bass. You're right. He's literally a comic book villain, like David Miscavige. Like,
let's be besties. Let's be colon friends. Colon Billy. No, it's total. He's such a villain. He's such a stereotypical villain. He reminds me of the little bratty kid in The Incredibles. You remember the villain in The Incredibles, who was just like a stilted fan, and he was just mad at Mr. Incredible? That's what he reminds me of. And I think Jason Lee voiced that character, who is also a Scientologist.
Oh my God, we're everywhere.
Bonnie Ribisi popped up on something the other day. I was like, this motherfucker, he still exists?
Still existing, still doing their thing. I know. And you know what's crazy? Because like I left mentally and physically about, I don't know, 8 years ago was the final cutoff for me where I couldn't actually talk to my parents or anything. I just can't believe so many people are still brainwashed in there and they still think this is normal. And it's 2024 and they're like, yep, gotta go on course.
I don't know. The more I get into understanding the difference between public and staff, the more I think that the people who are actually like in the sewer on staff don't think it's okay. They just don't know what else to do, or they just feel trapped by it or something. I don't think any of those people are actually okay with their situation. They just don't really know it. They know they feel uncomfortable. There's unrest. Everybody says it. I felt this way for the longest time, but they didn't know really what to point at and say it was this.
I mean, they're eating rice and beans and not sleeping, and you know, like.
But it's it's all for this grandiose cause of saving the planet. You're going to save humanity, Vanessa. What does it matter if you have to sacrifice a few meals? You know, like the Catholics sell you this. The Catholics tell you this idea that you're just supposed to suffer through life because what does it matter if paradise is beyond? So we give you this great big promise of some big reward at the end, right? And that is supposed to then allow you to willfully allow yourself to be oppressed and taken advantage of and blah, blah, blah. And the cycle goes on, and humanity sucks. Why are we saving it? You know that Billie Eilish line, why are we saving him? That's how I feel. Why are we saving humanity anyway?
I wonder if every generation has felt like this, though, like we're going to hell in a handbasket, because it feels like this is a really dire time. But maybe it's always, when Vietnam was going on, they probably felt the same way, like.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember when I was a kid, there was this beginnings of the end is nigh. People would crazy people out on the street with cardboard signs. And now it's normal. Now everybody's saying that. So it's I don't know if there's that. I don't think every generation. I think maybe it's every 3 or 4 or something. But I think this does happen in cycles where every once in a while the world thinks it's coming to it. Everybody thinks the world's coming to an end. But it happens a lot. Like this isn't the first time everybody thought the world was coming to an end.
Yeah.
And that might be part of the problem, is that all of these theologies involve some sort of doomsday scenario. So we're all stuck in a headspace of if it doesn't go right, everything goes wrong.
Oh, that's interesting. Public schools used to have nuclear bomb drills. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that before.
Yeah. Duck and roll. No, they duck under your desk. Like that was going to help. If they're dropping the bomb, I say go for a jog. Go outside, take it in.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the big one to come.
If I'm gonna die by nuclear blast, I want to at least be able to see it. Do you know what I mean? That's that's the best thing about it, is the visual.
Human trafficking and Scientology. Give me your thoughts, please.
I want to say something so sarcastic and be like, give me it for me, my initial thought right there was just to say, like, it's so weird to go from a place of feeling an irresponsibility and a shame for not joining the human trafficking to understanding now that it was not good. That, like when I was a kid, there was a kid's movie with Ringo Starr and Harry Nilsson about these cone-headed people. It was a whole society of pointy-headed people. No. It was a cartoon. It was not Coneheads from Saturday Night Live. They were just pointy-headed people, and and they all wore these hats. And there was one guy who had a blunt head. And one day his hat fell off and he was exposed, and they shunned him from the society because he didn't fit in. So I felt like I grew up feeling like that guy. Yeah. To my community of Scientology. Yeah. And it's so funny to me to now come back around and go, well, I didn't want to join the human trafficking. Yeah. I had no idea that's what I was resisting. But somehow it all makes sense now.
I mean, one of the things that takes him down, and it really is human trafficking. It
is a thing to point at and make the point of, because it is a really, this is a hard thing about the whole Scientology conversation. So much of it is not, it's hard to look at. It's hard to point at. It's hard to describe. Something like that is easy to look at, easy to describe. The way that the children suffered through the Sea Org and the Cadet Org and those experiences is easy to look at and easier to describe. And as I think Mike Brown is now on the elderly abuse stuff that goes on. Yeah. Older Sea Org members are being kind of dumped to the wayside.
Any religion that needs to hold your passport for you is terrifying. Like they literally do not have their own
and that, and then that even public, as public, we were still afraid of the capture, or that you couldn't get, you couldn't just walk out of a course room if you wanted to. Never mind Sea Org members, never mind lifelong in that. Yeah. So even that is, and that's the prison of belief that Alex Gibney makes, that I love that title, because it does speak to how it's it's not a literal bars. It's not literal bars. You don't have to be behind literal bars. It is, and it stops you just the same. It stops you just the same. There's some form of fishing in the Amazon where they just put the basket in the water and the fish swims into the basket and doesn't realize it can turn around and swim out. Yeah. Like that. Totally. That's what it is. We swim into this basket and we don't realize we could have just.
I mean, as an attest to that, I will never forget when I started at community college and I thought I had to ask to go to the bathroom. I literally was like, can I go to the bathroom? They're like, you can go to the bathroom anytime you want. You can leave the class anytime you want. You can stand in the hallway if you want. And I was like, what?
Can I sit on the floor? Wait, I can.
I mean, it's so fucked up though. I was like a grown ass adult asking to go to the bathroom, and
it is fucked up.
We're used to.
And that's the autonomy thing. We didn't have any sense of our own autonomy. We didn't know that we were our own people, because we were taught to hive mind think in terms of
that they were gonna have tabs on us at all times,
and they did. And it's not and there's it's the double, the paranoia that they're watching you, and the fact that sometimes they really are watching.
They really are. They really are. I have a lot of video of people following me. I don't quite know what to do with it, but I have quite a bit of information now after experiencing it myself, and it's the creepiest shit in the world. It really is, because they just want you to know that they're there watching you.
I always feel like somebody's watching me. That's our theme song, man. The cult of Scientology. The cult of Scientology. Anyway.
That they're trying to, I'm not sure who it is, but there is trying to be a law right now to make shunning illegal.
Shunning? What do you mean?
Disconnect.
Excommunicating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that interesting?
On what grounds? On what basis of what? What's the legal point?
I mean, it destroys the basic general building block of our country, which is a family. I mean, that's a huge deal.
That is a big deal. And there's other religions that do that. And you say shunning, I was thinking Orthodox Jews, that's what they call it, shunning.
Well,
Um,
yeah, no, Mormons and us, and
oh,
you
the
know, but
Mormons, yeah. Mormons do the
if
same
that
thing.
was elite, and so do the Hare Krishnas. There's a bunch of groups that do shunning, and if that was illegal, that would be so interesting.
But
Like they would
what
have to
would be the
secretly disconnect.
what would be the yeah what would be the consequence of that? Like if you weren't allowed to officially shun somebody or excommunicate or disconnect, but they would still stop talking to you. It's
For
not like
sure. They would
like
just have to
I think how are
reorganize
they gonna
it.
regulate that? There'll
For
be like a
sure.
DMV style office you have to go to talk to your family members.
Yeah, but then the whole next generation would grow up knowing that that would be something illegal.
That's interesting. I know that like grandparents have done that, have like sued for partial custody or at least visitation rights for grandchildren, stuff like that, on the argument of generational family is important. Yeah, that makes sense.
That would be kind of cool. I mean, it might not be applied, especially with Scientology. You know, they totally get around whatever, but it's a cool overarching thing.
I asked the same question, Eileen. How would you regulate that? But I guess it would be more a gesture of some sort. So at least like say it's not allowed. You can't officially do that because it is, ridiculous.
Yeah.
I still want I still want to get declared. What do I have to do to get declared by these people? Or everybody's always joking about who's the OSA plant, who's the mole, and I was like, how come they're not hitting me up? I'm desperate. I'll take some dollars to what? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? What do you want, OSA? What do you want from me? What do you want?
Aren't you?
Say what?
I see what you're doing. You're talking to them right now. You're trying to get some work. I get
they are listening, aren't they? Yeah, I need
you realize that it is somebody's job to listen to these things. Like at least one person is like, fuck these people. They're so boring. They're like such SP.
I can't imagine it. No, okay. If nothing else, I would hope that all this SPTV talking is getting through to those people who are forced to listen to it, because they gotta get something out of this. You can't listen to this and go, oh, they're funny. They're not, oh, look, they're not drooling at them. They're not foaming at the mouth. They don't have claws. And well, I do have claws actually. So, but
no, you know who I think it is though? I think it's all of the people who I knew when we were kids who joined the Sea Org, who they've just been like in the Sea Org for so long, and they've been either ethics officers or whatever they are, but they're almost just like null to this information. Like they just look at it as suppressive people. But Tori Magoo, that is how she left, is she was an OSA operative on the chat boards, and then they ended up flipping her.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. Like it feels to me like those would be the most vulnerable people to come to the dark side. We have cookies.
Yeah.
Those would be the people we should be talking to.
Like who is he putting in that call center that's like
or like when Mike Rinder talks about OSA, he's talking about specific people. He probably knows who that is. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's not even to him, it's not some ambiguous thing. To him, it's individuals he probably trained and worked with and knows.
Yeah.
Like who are
and
these
there
people?
are notorious members. Like there are like Massimo, like there's a few people who Tori has called out as like they're just evil fuckers, and they've just been there forever, and they have, some of them have family money, so that it's like they're not poor,
so they're not like
Sea Org members.
Right. I remember that people who had actually had stuff who would join the Sea Org or something, or join staff, and like, why would you do that?
and apparently, what's fucked up is when you're living on the base, they're always opening your mail. So they actually have your bank statements and all that. So they would know who actually had money. It's fucked up. And then take it from them.
That's religion, folks. That's another thing I think is funny, because like it wasn't like that's the hard part. That's another thing that makes it hard to talk about and point at, is that it's not a religion. It was never meant to be. And back in the day when they first started calling it a religion, everybody laughed at it. That was a joke. It was an open secret that it was not a religion. They're just doing that for the tax exemption. Everybody knew that. Everybody knew that, or presumably. But then it has a much more.
But now my father is a priest, and he has that neck thing, and he marries people.
I remember the first time I saw a Scientology clergy guy in one of those collars. I was like, "What the fuck is that?" He looks like that's a Catholic thing. That's an Episcopal thing. What are you doing? Because that's silly. I remember going to there was Sunday services that existed.
Yeah, but they did it like they were literally like, "Hey guys, we're calling this Sunday service," and I went once, and it was like objective processing. That's what they were doing. Like, feel
they
your
used
feet.
to do.
Thank you.
Oh, that's funny. Well, yeah, they used to do that. But at CC, they also used to do people who are coming back from Flag with wins to share their.
Oh yeah,
that was always the big deal. People coming
so
from Flag,
religious.
did their knots, did their shit, did their shitballs and their fuck, and now they're back to tell us about it. How they can see through people.
Yeah, they're so OT. Yes, Fat Grammy, both of my parents are still in. I have been disconnected from for 8 years, unfortunately.
Yeah, really, really unfortunate.
Yeah. Today we were discussing how, like you were talking about the responsibility thing and how you're always responsible and you're trying to figure it out in your head. My therapist is really trying to help me wrap my brain around that this was my parents' choice, not mine, because they framed it so fucked up at the end. Like, can't believe you're choosing these wogs over your family, and this is what you're doing. And it was framed.
But they're the ones choosing others over family.
It's true, but it's really hard to remember.
You got to remember with Scientologists, the overt act speaks loudly in accusation.
The overt doth speak loudly.
Whatever they're accusing you of, it's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's what you can usually be certain of.
It's hard to get over that personal responsibility, though, that's just how we were raised.
Oh, it really is. And I blame myself for shit. It has nothing to do with me. And I've had friends of mine, like WOGs, non-Scientology people, pull me aside, like Travis, God love him, pulled over the car one day because I was anyway, it doesn't matter the circumstance, but him and his wife were fighting and I was feeling very responsible for it. And he pulled the car over to go, dude, this is not about you. This is not your fault. Wow. It was palpable. He noticed how much I felt responsible for the fighting that they were fighting about.
That's wild.
Yeah, stuff like that. I do really take it on. Or Michael's sister lost a necklace one Thanksgiving, and it was in the coat room where everybody was throwing, in the bedroom where all the coats were. And I had gone in there to get something, came out, and then very shortly after that, she realized the necklace was missing. And I still feel like I did something, even though I know I didn't. I know I had no idea. I didn't even know there was a necklace in existence, never mind where it was or what it was doing. It had nothing to do with me, but because I was in the room, I felt guilty somehow. I felt like somehow I'd done something to make that happen. So whatever. But I'm a crazy person, and I was born in a cult. So,
but I'm a crazy person, and I was born to a cult. So it is what it is. I was born in a cult.
I'm a crazy person. It's a burden I bear.
Yeah.
Oh God. You gotta laugh, because if you don't laugh, you'd have to cry.
I mean, people, I also want people to realize that, there's a lot of us talking on SPTV, a good handful of people, but there's also hundreds of us who don't speak up and who don't talk about it. And I'm in contact with quite a few.
I think all of us
not interested.
I think all of us are in contact with at least one person or a few people who are out but don't want to talk about it. Certainly Jamie and I did a lot of trying to talk each other into it before either of us started doing it.
Oh, really? What a trip.
Yeah. because he was being asked and he didn't want to, and I was like, "You really should." And he's like, "Well, then what are you gonna do it?" I'm like, "I don't know. Are you gonna do it?"
like a course or something?
No, I mean talking on SPTV.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but we had to talk each other into doing it.
Yeah, and at least now there's like a
And
designated
Aaron, really. See, there we go. All roads lead back to Aaron, that fucking narcissistic prick. He did this to us. He sucked us in.
He totally
Bastard.
did, and here we are.
Bastard. That mofo. Damn him, his bald head. I think you should keep wearing that ship captain's hat. I think that's so funny.
Oh my god, it's so interpolating.
The captain's hat. Yeah. Well, I think we have to reclaim the iconography or something, right? Take it back.
Yeah, for sure. It looks super creepy. Anytime anybody wears a captain's hat, I'm like, bro.
Yeah, unless you're in a sex dungeon, that's a bad sign.
Yeah, unless you're doing something geeky now.
If you're in a sex dungeon, that's a bad sign also. But it's a completely different sign. Yeah. Context matters, people. Context matters.
Context definitely matters. I'm trying to think of if he said anything else explosive in that live I was watching before this.
Aaron.
Yeah, he was just saying how it like used to be a really fun space and it's gotten super unfun lately, which is kind of true. It's just like so much drums.
Even that, because a lot of this started right about the time I started participating. Yeah. And I'm like, see, and look what I did. Or like,
you got the shit end of the stick though.
I go work at Tower and Tower goes out of business. Look what I did. You know?
That's confirmation bias, that's for sure.
Oh, I'm good at that. Oh, I'm so good at that. Because it's all my fault. It's all my fault. I never thought. All right. Is it time to sing a song?
Yeah, song time.
I don't want to.
Oh, come on. Come on, give us a little treat.
I want to be alone. All right. I think that I can't remember if that's Greta Garbo or the other one, but Marlene Dietrich, one of those crazy old ladies. Ow. Sorry.
Okay.
All right. I want to move this. So
that song, I could actually hear the guitar.
Well, the guitar doesn't really come through on the stream.
Yeah, sometimes it does.
Patiently benevolent, waiting in the wings, holding hands with angels who have never heard you sing. All right, I'm gonna start over. Patiently benevolent, waiting in the wings, holding hands with angels who have never heard you sing. Easy as it comes and goes, back around a hump, even when it don't suppose a single second thought. Rumble in the residue, stumble through the fog. Watches all the residents become an angry mob, like there was one. Obvious explanation, wearing up reputation, like that's your style. Whenever there is sun, relevant information. You're tearing out the pages for somewhere, someone who dare need not apply. Na 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 na. Dare not need apply. Patiently benevolent, waiting in the wings, holding hands with angels who have never heard you sing, coming through the covenant with stations of the toss, the dice, a coin, the evidence, whatever you want lost until there's one. Obvious explanation, wearing up reputation, like that's your style. Whenever there is some relevant information, you're tearing out the pages for someone who dare not need apply, who dare not need apply, wearing out information. Da 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 da. Pulling up the drips of drag, opening up, playing with the pieces that what you barely had to start, with tokens all on offering in place of what you need. What's the point in softening the blow when still you bleed? Only one obvious explanation, wearing up reputation like that's your own personal style. Whenever there is ever even some relevant information, tearing out the pages for somewhere, someone who there need not apply. Really, who there not need, who there not need, who there not need apply. For one obvious explanation, wearing up reputation like that's your own personal style. Whenever there is some relevant information, tearing out the pages, somewhere, someone who dare not need apply, who dare not need apply, who dare not need apply, who dare not need apply. Blah blah blah.
That was really, really good. Was that your own or was that a cover?
That's my song. Dare
That
not
was
need
so
apply.
good.
And it's about the stupid shit. It's about the stupid shit that people lie about for the fear of somebody else finding out later on, kind of stuff. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Tearing out the pages. It doesn't matter what it's about. It's about whatever you want it to be
It was
about.
good. If I had that on Spotify, I'd listen to it all day.
I just gotta get. I just gotta get my shit together.
Soon enough.
But I can't get my shit together. Would have been. Should have been. Should have been.
That's a great song.
That's one of my songs too.
I'm
Fucking
a little curious
assholes.
what this OSA list that this woman Kathy's talking about. She said, I'm on the OSA list. I was scared at first, but the community made me feel better, and now wear it proudly. And then someone else said, oh yeah, you're in good company. Liz Gale's on it and Farrell Cheryl. I don't know. Maybe they have
I want to be on the OSA list for Christmas. How do I get on the OSA list for Christmas? There we go. There's our title.
On the OSA list.
I want to be on the OSA list. OSA, Bosa, Mosa.
For anybody watching this on replay, would you mind leaving us a comment? Because we like to know that you're here too. Because it's super fun to read them.
I feel like Fat Grammy had some OSA inside information at some point that she shared with Poe on the Go.
Oh, interesting. I don't know. I asked what was up with the list. I haven't seen anything. Maybe they're trying to find it. But I feel like if there's a list, I mean, obviously you're on it. Those Mustard Brothers.
My plan is working perfectly. Oh, the Mustard Brothers. Oh, that's hilarious.
Those Mustard Brothers.
We're such troublemakers. We're such barkers.
You're making waves.
Oh, dang.
It's a good thing. Well, see you next week.
Oh, are we done? Is it only an hour this time? I see. We're not as interesting as we thought we were. I gotta figure out how to do. I gotta figure out how to do this by myself more often because I don't even have the StreamYard account. And they're gonna. Oh, and that's the other thing. StreamYard. That's the other thing is that they're paying for my Wi-Fi, so that's going away soon. I think.
Oh shit!
I gotta figure that out.
Well, thankfully, Wi-Fi is not too expensive.
That's all relative, but yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
I just got to figure a lot of things out. Save me, right? Wasn't that what somebody said earlier?
I work behind a bar. I could be saved too. I'm not like nothing is easy over on the ex-Scientology tip.
Yeah, neither one of us have a dime. Can spare a dime, much less two to rub together.
Yeah, especially, I mean, honestly, it's great that a lot of people are making money off of YouTube. I've never made a cent.
Okay, there's something I want to ask. Like, why are people apologizing for making money on YouTube? What the fuck insanity is this? And this is like, I feel like, again, this is a Scientologist impulse to be defensive and like feel like you have to like explain it. Like I see people sometimes like explaining things I don't think they have any need to be explaining. And that's how YouTube works. That's not how what we're doing. That's just how YouTube works. And I don't think the people making those complaints or accusations understand that. That's the other thing about the thing of the rift between the foundation and the TV, the SPTV, is it feels just like old guard and young people. I just feel like Mike Rinder's that old penguin in Happy Feet. There's no aliens, you know. I just feel like that's you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like that's who he is. And and he's just going no. The same way what's his face wants to tell people not to protest. And I think people should protest. But that's always an argument between the old guard and the new guard. The new guard wants to come in and make a lot of noise, and the old guard's like, hey, calm down, slow down, you know.
Yeah, well, you can use my StreamYard account if you ever want to get on and just fucking chat it up.
How does that? Okay, all right, yeah, because I feel like I could do that. I could probably at this point start just calling people up and going, we're gonna do this online, okay? There's a couple of people who I haven't talked to in a long time that I would love to just talk to. Just talk to online. You know what I mean? We have a lot.
Interview them.
Yeah. There would be a lot to catch up on, as it were.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, honestly, listening to you and somebody else would be like, I would turn it on while I'm doing dishes or something, right? Like it keeps you company and it's interesting.
Yeah, that's podcast. That's what people do. I'm just saying, like, I just think that I could talk to a different breed of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, one of the things about most of the networks, most of the YouTube stuff is everybody's very conservative and very nice and very polite and very clean cut and very well lit. And except Laura FM, that's the only one who's like, fuck it.
Yeah.
But everybody else has like their spot and their background and their lighting and their and I just don't know how to do that. I totally
know what you mean. It's a little perfect.
Yeah. And there is this perfectionism in the Scientology motif already. You know what I mean? This need to be to show how fucking OT everybody is and everything is. And again, like, this is the thing I worry, like, I feel like I want to warn people about is old habits. Like, a lot of people are still participating in old habits, whether you associate them with that thing or not. These are the old habits.
Acting like Scientologists, and that honestly takes so much work to undo that.
Yeah. And like in recovery, the first step is realizing or admitting you have a problem, recognizing that there's something to fix. And that's the hardest part for a lot of people, is just recognizing there's something to fix in the first place. You have to see that.
I do know what you mean. I've seen some videos of people where I'm like, holy shit, you haven't gone to therapy at all. And you actually still kind of sound like DM's right-hand man, but you're not. And it's kind of crazy.
And it's like sort of thing, like, I feel like this is a reasonable question to ask. This is a reasonable quandary to have. And I feel like on some levels, there are certain people acting like we're not even supposed to ask these questions, or we're not even supposed to wonder who this guy is and, you know, the sort of influence or power he has. And I don't know whether it really even matters that much, except that I want them, you know, I want to ask if I need their help too. You know what I mean? Like, that's what sucks. Yeah. And I don't know who to trust. And again, like I say to my therapist and my social worker both, none of these people are reliable narrators. None of these people are going to lay it out. None of these people are going to tell you the whole story. They're all just going to tell you exactly what you need to know and nothing more, and maybe less.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you know, it's hard, especially being in New York and being in recovery in New York, where people are like in your face, bald face. They're like laying their whole fucking lives out for you.
Yeah.
To pick apart. And then it's such a reverse from what I'm used to.
Yeah.
And then coming back into this world with these people, and it's like, and not to say that people aren't different or reformed or better or worse or whatever it is. I don't know who everybody is, but it does sometimes feel a little too familiar.
Yeah.
You know, it does sometimes feel a little too familiar.
I mean, I think a lot of people have pulled back who used to have weekly shows and stuff because probably that exact same reason. And also there's just a lot of trolls out there in the world who just want to like fuck with you. And when I first started, I got fucked with mega. I have a guy who's still talking about me a year later.
I know one of your trolls. He's obsessed with you. I watched one of his.
Yeah.
I looked at some black PR, Vanessa.
Yeah. Oh my God. You're going to ethics right now.
Oh my God.
But like literally, it's kind of like when we're on YouTube, we're putting our whole fucking lives out there.
And that's the point of it though, right? Isn't that the point of it though, right? To say, here it is. Here's the thing. And people, because it is hard to understand and it is layered and it is complex.
Yeah.
And I kind of love trolls, to be honest. Like when I was on Facebook a lot, when the Opie and Anthony thing first happened, I was on Facebook a lot. And I used to engage very, very sincerely with trolls because I know how to talk their pedantic, weird language. I think, you know what I mean? Like, so sometimes I don't mind. I don't mind it when people say, you're whatever. I don't even know what the criticisms are. But I've been accused of the worst things. There's a guy in Florida accused me of killing his mother. I have murdering his mother in cold blood. And then I ran off to New York to pretend to be the homeless mustard to get away from it. Yeah. Stuff like that. Like I've been accused of the most horrendous things. I've had people accuse me of ruining their whole lives. I had a guy who's older than me accuse me of being the guy that molested him when he was a kid, when he was little. And I assume I must look like him or something, but it wasn't me,
Yeah.
you know? So like, I don't know.
That's crazy.
I don't know what these people could say that would shock me.
I'm not used to see, like, this is new for me. I'm not used to having so many people talk about me behind my back or
Right.
have like accusations hurled my way. I'm not used
Right.
to that.
Right.
And I don't think I'm perfect, but I'm just not used to hearing it.
We get caught up in going, no, that's not true. That's not true.
Yeah.
No. And
Yeah.
that's what you can't do with the troll. You got to go, oh yeah, you're right. I fucked all the dogs and all the kids and I did it all. But besides that,
yeah,
it's a lot of, you know, whatever. I got something else to say.
No, you're a troll's worst nightmare.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah. But that's cool though. I mean, that's the way to be for sure. And that's why you're going to be good at putting your whole story up in your life and stuff. It's because you actually don't give a shit and you've seen the really hard parts of life.
And I've seen, and I've hit some real bottoms, and I've seen some real, you know, like I grew up thinking I was a degraded being, and I've seen what degradation really looks like, you know. And it's not.
What do you think about the concept of degraded beings? I mean, obviously it's bullshit, but like after being homeless, after knowing all these people on the streets and stuff, do you have any inkling to lay back on that?
There's a basic shift in understanding when you realize what otherizing is. You know, the DB notion, SP, all of it. It's all just the otherizing. WOG
Us
is another
versus
one.
Them.
Right. So it's just that, I think, is the basic shift to make. It's like, oh, those are just people too. And I've been, you know, told on my, you know, it's like criminals, like the way conservatives feel like they or like whatever. This was a conversation back in the hour. People still think this way, but that was the idea, was that the criminal or the gangbanger at the time in the 90s was like something different. It was a different kind of person. They weren't really like us, kind of thing. Like that Kendrick Lamar song. And you gotta get behind that. You gotta get around that. You gotta get over that. And sometimes it takes, but empathy is difficult for some people. And sometimes it takes the real life experience to get it. Unfortunately, conservatives too often, they have to, their daughter has to come out or something before they realize gay people are real too, you know, or something like that.
And it takes humility.
Well, there's humility and empathy, because empathy is the realization that you're not the center of the universe, or you're not the only person in the world, and everybody else is just as complex and weird or interesting or real or valid or as you are. There's a Scandinavian thing about that. There's a thing called a moment of something, where that moment you realize, oh, everybody's a person too. It's not just me. And when you're a child, you're kind of supposed to feel that way. When you're a baby, when you're little, and your mom and your dad or the world and all that, but you're supposed to grow out of that. And Scientology, once again, it's one of those things that they encourage you to stay narcissistic, stay ego-driven, stay the center of the universe. We're gonna rescue everybody. Bullshit.
They're pretty much the same age. They're pretty much the same age as when they joined the cult. After 20 years, they'll stay the same because they emotionally stop maturing.
Yeah, and that's the point of it, right. And we've talked about this before, and this is true also in recovery. Like they say, you don't mature past the point of your first drink. So, and I think this is you don't mature past your first auditing session. You don't mature past your first bull bait. You don't mature past your TR0. You know, there's a lot of you know, arrested development built into the system here, right? And that's why it's troublesome to realize how many people have not really had the therapy. Although I think for a lot of people, this is the therapy. You know what I mean? Like going online and talking about it and telling the stories and blah, blah, blah. You know, that
which is a super not safe space, and I don't recommend it.
Well, luckily, with very sympathetic listeners and very sympathetic. I mean, I haven't had any trolls yet. Nobody's trolled me yet, I don't think.
I haven't seen any trolls.
I have a
big part of the therapy realization for me was realizing I actually had to parent myself through the rest of the stages and like be my own parent, give my own self a hug, do all the things that I had wanted to have happen that didn't happen. Yeah.
That's an interesting one. Give your own self a hug. Pat yourself on the back.
Like literally all the things that make you feel really silly, but like envision yourself as a child. Like, what would you say to that little person? And like, is it going to be okay? Are you going to be okay? You know, things like that. It's hard work.
It's horrible. Like somebody said that to me once, and it was in reference to a photograph of myself when I was about 5. It was a professional photograph because my mother was trying to get me famous when I was little. And I was in commercials and stuff. It's stupid. But there's this picture of me, and I'm like 5 years old. I'm in the ditch at Cece. We're in the where the pavilion is now, where the waterfall and all that is. What used to just be a ditch, and it was like this big, fallen tree, I guess, or cut down tree. And I'm just sitting on the log, and I'm in my underwear, and I've got my legs crossed, and I look like a little girl. This picture came up, and somebody had said that to me about like, you fight for this little kid, and I looked at that little kid and I said, but he's so fucking faggy. I'm sorry, it's just me hating on myself, but it's like I couldn't even like look at that kid with anything other than I couldn't look at that kid with anything without a little bit of contempt, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
That's wild though. That is unfortunate.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. So like, I don't know, doing it for the kid I used to be or could have been, I don't know about all that. That just becomes so like bittersweet. It's like anytime I have any realization that I'm not, some piece of shit, it just makes me feel more annoyed and pissed off and sad that it took me so long to realize.
Yeah. Well, that self-hate is going to go away, hopefully, eventually, because you have no reason to hate yourself so much. I bet that picture was adorable.
Oh, I'm sure it was. I couldn't be non-biased about it. I couldn't possibly. Yeah. Couldn't be arsed. I'm sure it was. It was the one that was selected for some sort of headshot or something. I don't know exactly what that picture was used for, but I was in some catalogs when I was a kid. I was in a couple commercials. we were LA Scientologists trying to get somebody famous.
LA. We're
just
so
get somebody
LA. We
famous.
All had headshots. Yeah, it was really
Barrett Oliver did it. Anybody can do it.
I remember my mom saying, you could be like Leah and make all this money and donate it to the church. You should be an actress like Leah. Right.
Well, that was the idea of like, that was the out. If you weren't going to be a Sea Org member, staff, then at least make a lot of money doing something, preferably get famous, because not only can you make a lot of money for the church, but you can also disseminate and advertise for them. Ooh,
but what's crazy
there's a goal.
About that is the amount of people who I know who actually did become famous just from that pure pressure. Like so many people who grew up the way that we did became household name type people or musicians or whatever, because there was nothing else for them to do. They literally had to become famous.
I don't know, people born, you mean people who actually grew up in Scientology? Like Juliette Lewis is the only person that comes to mind right off the top of my head, but her father was a famous television actor. There's nepotism there. There's, that's a whole nother thing. And not for nothing, Juliette took off when she was a kid. She emancipated herself when she was like 15.
Yeah.
To get away from Jeffrey and Glennis. So I don't know.
Sonny Moore is Skrillex.
Oh yeah, that's right, Skrillex.
Yeah,
I don't know his story. I don't know his story, but I hear the car alarms sometimes that remind me of his music. Oh.
I grew up with another group of rock artists that I don't even want to blow up their spot.
Or Beck Hansen. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I would love to talk to him. I would love to sit down with Beck and to ask him, like, what do you think of all of this, motherfucker? Because he doesn't, and even his public persona as Beck isn't like, he doesn't do a lot of interviews. He doesn't do commercials for Dunkin' Donuts. So like, I don't know. We don't really know much about him.
Funny story about Beck is a couple years ago, I was in Vegas and we were at the opening of this like really cute bar, dance club, whatever. The owners had invited us. So we look over and there's Beck, and he was giving me Scientology eyes. Like, I don't know what it is, but there's something about us Sino kids where you can like scan
it's a thyroid condition.
What is it? Because we all have these crazy eyes that like I can spot a Scientologist from like a mile away. And it was literally like Beck was giving me those eyes and I was giving them right back. Like
I see you, Scientologist.
I literally wanted to be like,
Oh
hey,
God,
that's your
that's like the
cousin.
aliens in Cocoon where they're like hiding in the closet, and the alien just looks through the slats at them. It's like, ah, fuck.
That's us. Yeah, totally normal. Crazy timeline.
Oh, Xenu, take me away.
You know who would be interesting to talk out would be Jason Lee.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear where he's coming from, what he thinks of it, because I don't know. Do you know
Yeah.
how in it he is or was?
He actually left, but he left
Oh, okay.
silently.
All right.
So
What about
he would
Ethan
be-
Suplee?
I think Ethan's still in because he's married to Brandy, who's Juliet's.
Ethan
sister or
Suplee is
whatever.
married to Brandy? I didn't even know that.
I believe so.
They just had a kid last Christmas. I do know that. My God. I did not know that Ethan Suplee was her husband. Oh, that's so funny.
Mhm.
Huh. That's so funny. That is so funny.
He used to be at the
so
Masterson
funny.
parties all the time. When I was growing
Yeah.
up, Ethan would be around and he would be at the Masterson art shows and all that.
Yeah. We were childhood play friends, I guess. According to my mother.
Yeah.
Our mothers used to be friends, but I think they had a falling out or something. That's so funny. And Brandy. All right. I wonder what happened to
But
Bo.
it is
That would be
kind
interesting
of-
one to talk to.
It is kind of wild to see how many people actually achieved fame from
Well, it's also like
Carol
Los Angeles.
Masterson or whatever.
It's also Los Angeles, not for nothing. And remember that Danny Masterson's mother was a big casting agent.
Carol, yeah.
So like there's a lot of power in Hollywood. Casting agents have a lot of power. And yeah, and I don't know. You're right. The push, the motivation, I guess, but like too much pushing breaks people. That's what drives people to drink drugs and
that's the
behavior.
thing too, is that when people like don't, I feel like so many of us, because we don't make it to whatever level we had envisioned of ourselves, then it's like you have to go the total opposite way. Like I know so many former Scientologists who have been homeless at some point, where it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy where like they told us this is what's going to happen.
Yeah. Oh no, I feel that. And you've mentioned this before, and we've talked about this before. It's the unrealistic expectation, and it sets you up for failure, and you do. And then like silly things like if you're in the Sierra, you don't even know how to like, apply for a job or a apartment or something. You know what I mean? There's like such basic fundamental things. Like when you're coming out of the streets or coming out of prison, even there's programs where you can go and they can teach you some basic life skills.
Yeah. Totally.
They will even sometimes pay for a school of some sort. So
for us too, to have that fear of psychiatry and psychology coming out,
right?
You know,
and the
that's
very
another barrier.
The very thing that we needed was the very thing, right? And I do also have an allergy to affiliation, to groups, to joining up, to any of that kind of stuff. I don't want to know. I don't want to be part of your goddamn band. I don't want to be part of your party. I don't want to be part of your club, your network. And then here I am in a network, but still. But at the same time, I need community. At the same time, I crave community, right? I push it away.
Yeah.
Look at me. Don't look at me. Look at me. Don't look at me.
You're such a walking contradiction. I think that's an artist for you.
A walking contradiction. Well, my father was a hippie. My mother was a debutante. Like that to me is very funny. Like these are two people that really should never have met. And I feel like a hybrid of a omnivore, of a herbivore and a carnivore. Like I'm a T-Rex stegosaurus or something. And I do kind of get stuck in the middle though. I end up stuck in the middle. Yeah. It's like being the world's tallest dwarf. It doesn't really do much for you.
Yeah. But we're still standing. I mean, that's something.
I'm still standing after all this time. I'm sorry. I do that all the time. Like this is a thing that I do all the time. Like I hear a phrase or something and the song comes out. And it really frustrates. Some people love it and some people it frustrates the hell out of. But I don't know what to do.
I don't mind. You're writing songs as we speak.
Well, that's Elton, but I'm saying that's an Elton John song. I'm still standing. Like a lot of it is referencing songs that I hear because it's always this maelstrom in the head going all the time with the songs and the music. I wish I could turn it off sometimes, but you can't.
Yeah, music definitely helped save my life. That's for sure. So
music,
ain't got nothing wrong with that.
The DJ saved my life tonight, that kind of thing.
The DJ saved my life.
Music is what the soundtrack of our lives, that kind of stuff. It's the sound of emotion. I like that one. People say a lot of things about music, and it's universal, it's historical throughout human history, everywhere around the world. Everybody has figured out how to bang something against something, or vocalize, or moan, or something. And usually it's out of some sort of frustration or pain, some need to say something, or a warning to neighbors to stay away. That's where a lot of music comes from. It's sort of tribal drumming.
And protest anthems.
Oh yeah, I've written some protest anthems.
Sick.
I don't know, anthem. Anthem's probably not the right word. I feel like you need like swooping guitars and riffs to make an anthem. But what makes an anthem? Like, is Die Hard a Christmas movie or not? What makes
it is a Christmas movie.
The great debate continues. I don't think we can resolve
Christmas movie.
I don't think we can resolve such a tense issue on one live stream. I mean, I think the Middle East would be easier to resolve.
We might have to bring it up quite a few times to get to the bottom of it.
Over is Die Hard a Christmas movie? I say whatever you want to be a Christmas movie is a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
No, but at the same time, one of my favorite, like, I always think it's funny. Like, there's a Ben Folds 5 song called Brick. She's a brick and drowning slowly off the coast heading north. And it's not a Christmas song, but he mentions Christmas in the song. It's 6:00 Christmas morning. She tries to kill herself on Christmas Eve. That's what the song is about. A girl trying to kill herself on Christmas Eve and him kind of trying to deal with it on Christmas morning. That's what the song's about. And so he mentions Christmas in the song. So they play this song on the radio at Christmas time, or they did in the 90s. I don't know if they still do. But I always think it's so funny. It's like, that song's not really a Christmas song.
Yeah. Mike says it was released in the summer.
Yeah, it's not. It's a party. She's a brick and drowning slowly. Ben Folds, I love. I think he's very underrated. Rock the Suburbs is one of the best records ever made. But the other one is Joni Mitchell's River. It's coming on Christmas. They're cutting down trees, putting up reindeers, singing songs of joy and peace. I wish I had a river. Now, that's not really intentionally a Christmas song, but it is a Christmas song. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Differently, I think. I think that one really is a Christmas song. Even though I don't think she wrote it as a Christmas song, she wrote it as a lot of great Christmas songs were written as nostalgia for cold, snowy, wintry Christmases that they weren't having because they were stuck in Los Angeles. White Christmas, that's how that song was written also. Was a guy stuck in Los Angeles pining for his childhood snowy Christmas. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. He's literally dreaming of a white Christmas. That's where that song came from too. Joni Mitchell did the same thing. That's what River's about. And she's talking about ice skating on frozen rivers in Saskatchewan, in the northern tundra of Canada. No, she's yes. Very famous, very famously Canadian. Yes, she's very famously Canadian. And she's been
something new every day.
Yeah, and she's her and Neil Young were the big Canadians of that particular. Leonard Cohen, he's Canadian too.
Really?
A lot of good Canadians. A lot of good Canadians.
I thought
Drake, Drake, not so much.
You're in Kendrick territory here.
I have no idea. I don't even know what the beef is. I just know there's beef. And I remember this from when I was a kid and hip hop was new and like hip hop guys had beef. And it would take like 3 years for them to put out the record to to get back at the guy. And now it's just like it's immediate. It's right there. Everybody's got their beef on Twitter. It's so funny to me. It's so funny to me. I have no idea. I just don't like that line. They're not like us. It's otherizing. And I know he's talking about something else, but still, out of context.
Otherizing.
He's telling
Drake to stop using the N-word. He said it doesn't fit him.
Is that what he's doing? Yeah, he's too white for it. I agree with that. Yeah. I think Drake is too white for the N-word.
He's basically saying like you're a singing boy. Like stop trying to be tough. And
I would feel weird if Jamie dropped an N-bomb. I would not be comfortable with that. There's a great moment in that show Tina Fey did 30 Rock, where they've got Tracy Jordan or Tracy Morgan playing Tracy Jordan or whatever it is. He's his character, and he says the N-word all the time. And then there's another black guy on the show who's one of the writers, and he went to Harvard. And so they call him Twofer because he's black and he went to Harvard. So he's a twofer.
Uh,
And he drops the N-bomb one day and everybody just goes, whoa, because it's just not right. Even though he's black, but he's Harvard educated and he's, you know, he's a Poindexter and it just doesn't work. It doesn't fit. It doesn't work. You can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the M word is, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's about, really. I mean, Kendrick says, like, I feel uncomfortable when you say that, bro.
I can see that. I get that. Okay, I got that. Coming from Drake, I got that. And that's another thing that I think is funny because we don't talk about mixed race because there is a whiteness to Drake. There's a whiteness to mixed race people, or there's like I was talking about that movie about the pressure meter, the magical Negroes, the Association of Magical Negroes, David Allen Greer. And it's a really funny, silly premise where like the magical Negro sees the white people with the pressure meter and the white people are going to freak out. So they got to calm them down or help them through whatever dilemma they're in this traditional movie trope of the magical Negro, like Vagabonds or something like that. And or Green Mile. And mixed race people would also be part of that conversation. Or somebody says to me the other day about the statistics in America that white people won't be the majority by whatever it is. And I'm like, well, are we including mixed race people in that conversation? Because traditionally in America, we don't. Traditionally in America, we put mixed race people into the category of, which is why Kamala Harris is so confusing to some people because she is more
but
than
it's
one.
so sad too because the mixed race people sometimes are not accepted by
they're not accepted by their own groups, not black enough for the black girls, not white enough for the white girls, not Latin enough for the Latin girls, that kind of stuff. I just know this from the girls that I grew up with. A lot of them are mixed race girls, and you hear this stuff. And there's a stuck in between kind of ambiguity to it.
Yeah.
And it's not exactly the same. And certainly also not for nothing, also because he's Canadian. And there's something I think fundamentally American about a black guy using that word in the way that I think is acceptable.
And he was on a sitcom, like he was on DeGrasse.
He was on like a little kid's show. He was like on a teenage. He was on like the Canadian version of Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, pretty much. Exactly.
Yeah.
And
he's Canadian.
You know, progressively gotten like tougher in his lyrics and stuff. So it's just kind of funny to laugh at.
I don't know.
Like,
I think
I'm actually a huge Drake fan, and I'm a huge Kendrick fan. I think the whole beef is stupid and that it's pretty manufactured.
I side with Kendrick. You know, you remember in the 90s, they tried to pretend there was some beef between Eddie Vedder and Kurt Cobain.
Oh,
because that would have sold records, man. But you know what they did? They went on TV and was like, "There's no beef." They just called it out. See
the parallels between the SPTV community, all these beefs.
I'll fix you one part time behind my back. Yeah. And that's it, right? Universal solvent communication. And that's what I feel like isn't happening on a lot of this. And everybody on that's the thing about this network is that there's maybe too much communication. We're all just like blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's none coming from the other side. Or we get a single like long-winded post about how Osa's trying to ruin it. And with not even a maybe I have something to do with something. Yeah. No, it's completely not me. I didn't do it. Not me. I didn't do it. And that's
just the surprising part. Is it's like, how do you say there's nothing that you didn't know about? Like you didn't know about SA being covered up. How is that possible?
Yeah. And he did say that he had something to do with transporting Miriam back to Australia, back to her father.
On that show.
So there in that moment, he copped to something, but then he's not willing to cop to anything else. And I joke with my friends now as I tell this, these are the people that got Scientology kicked out of Australia permanently. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how fucked up these people are. These are the people who are so foul. They got the whole institution removed from a continent. So that's something to be said. There's something to be said. Results, as it were.
I love that other places have it on their health watch. Like they literally will put out, even in the UK, they'll do this and be like, oh, these pamphlets were distributed. They've been a known, they don't call it cult, but they call it whatever it is.
Well, in Paris, they were, in Paris for the Olympics, they were shutting it down. And in a lot of places in Europe, they teach kids to watch out for propaganda. because they're much more they much more understand the dangers of Russia in particular, but the way that certain entities, particularly in Europe, are constantly pushing false narratives and propaganda. And so they actually teach children in like kids programming, like how to watch out for propaganda, how to watch out
Which
for.
is so brilliant because we were raised on propaganda. And when I started seeing the World War II propaganda, I was like, this is literally no different than what we were raised with. It's literally just David Miscavige acting as Hitler.
Don't say the H word. And we can't, and I won't call him Miscavige. He's mischievous Miscavige.
Mischievous
I know. Mischievous Miscavige. Sure, whatever he is. He's beating up the trolls. Whatever he's doing. No, I love the idea of like trying to write us like a Shel Silverstein style kind of poem like that. Mischievous Miscavige. And then it's not his name because his name is Miscavige. So there's nothing there. I can say Miscavige all I like.
Yeah. Miscavige.
Mischievous Miscavige. It's hard to say though.
It's just crazy that they still think like he's the dude. Like people who are in it really do believe that he's done so much good for the church, blah, blah, blah. It's crazy.
I don't know. It's so hard for me. I keep thinking about like events and going to events and all that, like growing up, going to those events all the time. Right. And I always went, but you know, it was me and there was certain kids or certain young people who didn't really we didn't stay in our seats. We didn't really pay attention. We were always running around. And so like, I just remember it all just being so blowhard. It's the most amazing thing that's ever happened ever. Oh my God. And it was hard to reason with. Like, it was hard for me to sit there and accept that. And I think the few times I really did watch an event that's when you start to go, really? This really?
Yeah.
I think, what's the opposite of me thinks they do protest too much, me thinks they do hip hip hooray too much. What are you trying to prove? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like and the hip hip hoorays, those were mind numbing. And that is the same thing when you do look at the
so ridiculous along the way. Like when you were having your adventures in New York City, I was still going to these fucking events that ended up getting so ridiculous. Like you thought it was bad then. It got
because because the worse it gets for them, the more frantic they're gonna get, the more
and they're like claiming we saved all these people, we distributed Dianetics to 500,000 people and Europe is being cleared, and you're like, what the fuck?
And if you've ever read 1984, that's exactly how it works. You read in the newspaper how all this stuff is happening, but it's somewhere else. And then every once in a while they switch it around.
Totally.
We're over there now. And it is totally and it is totally the nature of propaganda. That's why they used to tell us not to read that book.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still tell people that, but you weren't allowed to read 1984 or Brave New World or any of that. And all that stuff that the Republicans like to ban. And you weren't allowed to do LSD or take psych drugs.
Yeah.
And no psychics either. They didn't like psychics. Oh, and no hypnotists.
No yoga either.
Oh, I didn't know about that. Nobody told me not to yoga.
It's other practices.
Nobody ever told me not to yoga.
No.
No, but I never wanted to yoga. So that's the joke there. The idea of being hypnotized still scares me. I'm still scared of being hypnotized. You ever been hypnotized?
Yeah. A lot of Scientology is hypnotic suggestion.
That's why they don't want you to get hypnotized. Do hypnotists notice that if you're like...
I'm unhypnotizable. This is a thing. Like, I had to study it in school and whatever, and I tried really hard to get hypnotized. But because of my background coming out of the cult, it just wouldn't happen.
That's what I'm wondering.
I was hypnotized in Scientology as a side effect, right?
Because the predisposition to the suggestive hypnotic state of what we're talking about, nodding, like, does that either? I feel like that would either make you much more susceptible to being hypnotized, or the other way, because you've built up a resistance or something, right? You need to do more than that to get through to me, motherfucker. I've been doing this for years. Yeah,
it depends on your agreeableness, because you have to want to be hypnotized,
right?
You have to go along with it.
It still freaks me out. I'm always worried somebody's gonna hypnotize me and I'm gonna turn into a robot, and the Borg is gonna come bursting out of me.
Yeah, I remember talking about that a lot when I first came out. I was scared of being hypnotized, and then I had to do an actual deep dive and realize that like you actually need to consent to be hypnotized.
Oh,
Otherwise, it's extremely challenging. You can have hypnotic suggestion, you can be put in these states, but nobody can just walk up and hypnotize you.
right, right. Look at my eyes. Look at my eyes. Look at my eyes.
But
There,
I
you're
also
gone.
realized every time you show up to course, every time you start a new course, you're giving your consent to be hypnotized.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's just it. That's just it. This
Yeah.
the whole vein of it was like, oh, it's so exciting. Don't you want to get some icing? It's like chocolate. You know, like
Yeah.
that's kind of how they talk about it all the time. And that was another thing I didn't quite trust. You know what I mean? I'm like, I think y'all are a little too excited about this. And I've done it. It's not that exciting. I don't know why they were so excited about it.
I
'Cause
always
apparently,
wanted to get to that point where I felt like it was like what they were talking about, you know, like where we could lift ashtrays with our minds and shit. It never
oh,
happened.
and all the hippies were so convinced they could see through walls and move things. And oh, Jesus.
For real.
Helter Skelter. Anyway, all right. I guess we're done.
All right, I guess we're done.
She flipped her hair at me. How dare you?
My coffee's out.
Can I just say about that dude that has an obsession with you? And I won't say his name because it's not worth it. But
Yeah.
my God, he's obsessed with you. You understand that, right? He's got
Yeah,
a
it's
thing
crazy.
for you. And were you friendly at some point? And there was a
No, but he did write me an email once asking if he could help me out with like, because some people started showing up at my work, like Scientologists. And he wrote me an email and he was like, hey, I live like not far from where you work. If you want me to help you out, if you ever
yeah,
need
he mentioned
anything,
that.
here's
Yeah.
my number. And I never responded. And I think he was literally butthurt that I didn't want his
That's
help.
it. You've never met him.
Never met him.
Oh shit. I had the impression that he was like showing up to protest or something. He was like on everybody's side for some reason at some point, and then he's full.
He was on Aaron's channel. Aaron brought him on, and then he turned into a total psychopath.
Well, it's because Aaron's a narcissist.
I hope that gets clipped and that's just that one.
Yeah, just send the foundation that clip of me calling Aaron a narcissist. I like that.
Yeah.
No, the narcissism thing. I'm still hung up on that because I just think it is so part of it all. And the paranoia. And that was another thing that's coming out a lot in certain people's conversations is a lot of paranoia. A lot of paranoia. And we are all so predisposed to that.
Yeah. For sure.
Everything could be it's all a conspiracy, no theory.
Yeah, and paranoia is not fun when you're actually in it and you're scared. You know, that's really not cool.
No, when you really think there's somebody on the wall or somebody coming through whatever it is. I used to be afraid of like jackboots, like Nazis or Gestapo kicking in the door and dragging me out in the street by my hair and shoot me in the head in the street. I don't know why.
Whoa.
Or saber-toothed tigers. I still think about that sometimes. Like I'm running from saber-toothed tigers like in the city.
What an odd fear.
I'm looking up at the buildings, looking for the saber-toothed tigers. But I'm crazy, and I was born in a cult.
Yep. That's it. That's all you gotta say.
I've got the ultimate excuse.
But I'm
Osa did it. I love it. Osa did it. It wasn't me. Osa did it.
If you just tell people you used to be a Scientologist, they should just cut you some slack.
It is, it is definitely a thing that like. Wait, what's this? Tom Cruise. He's a mega troll. You're a stalker. 5 like.
Yeah,
Cleveland.
my stalker.
Oh, you're a stalker.
Yeah.
No, wow. I want a stalker. I think I already have some. There's a woman in Argentina still messages me every once in a while. I think I have stalkers. I just don't know what to do with them. Some people marry. there are celebrities who have married their stalkers.
I tried to get a restraining order and he wouldn't show up.
Oh, he wouldn't show up for the court?
Mm-hmm. And we like tried to serve him at the address where he had, and he was apparently served. He said he never got it, blah, blah, blah. It did actually stop him from talking about me for a little while, but now he's back.
I mean, that's why you have a person actually serve, so you can't claim you didn't receive it. That's the whole point of a handing off of
Exactly.
the paper.
There was
So
a service. There was an agency that did it. So
right. So yeah, you can't claim you didn't get that.
Yeah.
Too much
so.
Schindler's List in Ice Age. Anyway. Anyway, all right.
Well, until next week. Thanks
Next
for
week.
tuning in, folks. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, leave us comments of encouragement because clearly we need it.
And I'm gonna try to do some like solo interviews with some people.
Yeah.
Talk to some other people. Talk to some AA people. Talk to some other weirdos. Talk to some homeless people. I know some ex-homeless people we could talk to. That'd be fun.
That'd be fascinating. I'd love to watch that.
Get off the Scientology kick for a little while.
Yeah. Why not?
It's just not my only ruin.
Yeah, you got plenty of ruins.
It's just not my only ruin. I got others. Nope. I got others to fill my head with. All right, darling. It's good talking to you.
Good talking to you too. Bye, everybody.
Bye, bye.